My name is Omid Saijian, and let's talk about the given flight scenario for the instrument course. So our pilot in this fictional scenario has 1,600 hours. He's IFR rated with 25 hours in actual IMC, and he has a third of his flights done at night, which is important for the scenario since the night is being done on a Saturday night after he spent the night at a wedding and also that afternoon. So before our pilot gets on the aircraft, he has to make sure that he has all the required documents, such as his pilot certification, his medical certification, his photo ID, which is government valid photo ID, and his radio license, if applicable, which is not. Also, he has to make sure that the aircraft has all of its licenses needed, which is going to follow the checklist arrow: airworthiness, registration, radio station license, operating limitation information, which we also call the POH, and also a weight and balance data sheet. And that has to be valid. He also has to make sure that the aircraft has all the maintenance inspections required that follows the checklist aviates, airworthiness directives, VOR checks, inspections that are done annually or 100 hours, altimeter, transponder, ELT, and any supplemental type certificate that apply to the aircraft. Also, based on 91, Part 91, 103, he has to make sure that he follows the checklist NW craft. It's been simplified to that. And we'll talk about that checklist a little bit more. But first, let's talk about personal minimums. Our pilot is smart enough to have his personal minimums written down. This is very important and it's going to come in handy. It's important to have those available to you once you're doing the pre-flight. I've also gone ahead and done a flight risk assessment tool for this scenario, and the scenario got a score of 6, which is very low, and that is a good sign. It means that this flight is a good idea. However, we were not given much information about this flight. So here's what this flight will look like on ForeFlight. We're departing from Kilo Mike Mike Victor, and we are going to Kilo Lima Mike Tango. We're going to follow this route, and once you put this route into ForeFlight, it's going to add these waypoints for you, and this is what it's going to look like. It's a very straightforward flight. Our departure is going to be at 2:30 Zulu, again from Kilo Mike Mike Victor. This airport has 4 runways, and the longest one is 5,420 feet long. We are going to run the NW craft checklist one more time. So NOTAMs are unknown to us. We're going to go ahead and move on to weather. Weather is given to us as a form of a METAR. So here's the weather. Based on this, it is within our minimums, legal and personal minimums. So we're also going to go ahead and move on to the alternate takeoff minimums for this airport. This airport has alternate takeoff minimums for 3 of the runways. We are most likely, based on the winds, are going to be using runway 4, but we're going to go ahead and check the worst case scenario, which is going to be for runway 17 and runway 22. We're going to need to be able to climb 303 feet per nautical mile based on the information given to us in the terminal charts. Now we're going to refer to this chart down here to see if we are able to meet those minimums. Based on our aircraft's POH, we are going to be climbing at 50 or 58 knots. So we're going to go ahead and go with 60 at 60 knots in order to climb 50 feet per nautical mile. We're going to be climbing 310 feet per minute as well, which means we meet the minimums. And also at 1,000 feet pressure altitude, we're going to be needing about 1,600 feet of runway. The en route phase is pretty eventless. We just have to make sure winds are not a factor. Icing, however, is. Temperatures are at 12,000 feet are going to be very low. We are sticking to 12,000 due to the Aeroca. However, once we get our clearance, we could be given a different altitude. But temperatures are low, so we need to stay away from any visible moisture. Our aircraft is not equipped with anti-icing. We're not approved for known icing conditions in this aircraft. Destination airport, we're going to arrive at 410 Zulu. It's going to be Kilo Lima Mike Tango. Here's all the information given. We have 4 runways to use here, and ILS, GPS, VRR localizer, and RNAV approaches. This airport also have alternate minimums. So once we run through the NW craft checklist again, NOTAMs are not given. Weather, based on the TAF here, it's going to be going from variable winds at 3 knots and 6 statute mile visibility and clouds broken to 2000. It's going to deteriorate down, and it's going to improve again at around between 21:23 to 0500 in the morning. Conditions are going to change from scattered 2000 to a variable winds at 3 knots and 5 statute mile visibility. So again, the situation is changing from winds variable at 3 knots and visibility 6 knots with clouds scattered at 2000 to visibility at 5 statute miles. So it's just a slight deterioration. And then 1 hour afterwards, winds are going to stay at variable at 3 knots. Visibility is 2 statute miles. We're going to have mist, and clouds are going to be broken at 800. That's at 10 a.m. So that's also something to keep in mind. So we discussed the runways. We have 4 runways, runways 08 and 26, and runways 14 and 32, with the longest one being 14 and 32 at 10,302 feet. Alternate is Kilo Sierra India Yankee, and fuel is going to be 60 gallons remaining once we get to the airport. That's enough for us to go to our alternate plus 45 minutes, that's the legal requirement. And we are going to look at the landing performance at 4,000 feet, pressure, altitude. We are worst case scenario based on temperature, which we're not given. We are going to be needing 1,600 feet of runway, which is just, we have more than enough. External pressures are given to us as the pilot wanted to get home to be at his child's sporting event, but in my opinion, that is not a reason to be pressured. Being home the next day and the day after is more important than being at one event. So it should not be a factor for this pilot. Also, I did not complete the I am safe checklist because we did not have sufficient information regarding the previous days. We don't know what he did at the wedding, if he drank alcohol or if he slept or anything. We didn't know much, so I went ahead and omitted this checklist. Here's a list of our references. We used the Cessna Operating Handbook for the 182 Tango, Department of Transportation Flight Risk Assessment Checklist, and the FAA's Regulation Handbook, Part 91. Thank you.